All right. Hey, for the people that are our in the chat room, have you guys seen my new videos that I put out? Yes, says Mark. So now I kind of feel like the format is important, and Julia's seen them too. She says, I think I've seen them all. Very nice, she says. Of course, my Patreon peeps get early access to all of them. I think some people might be getting a little burnt out on me dumping all of this rocket mass heater myth videos all at once. But I kind of feel like I got to get them out there so people could. So I'm trying to pace it a little bit, but I'm trying to get them all out there because I think it's important that people have them available to use. It's amazing how if I go someplace like yesterday, I did an AMA out at Reddit on the 12 rocket mass. So I have 12 functioning rocket mass heaters here right now. And so I posted the pictures out at Reddit, and I did an AMA, and people kept asking these questions, and it's like, and basically the way that they ask questions is like not a question of like, oh, well, what about this? It's more like, that's total bullshit, man. And then I've got a video that I could put up that is a response to that claim. So I kind of feel like, it's already paying off. And then there's a couple of times somebody said something, and I know that that's a video that's coming soon, and we don't have it yet. And I also know that I'm learning there's a few other points where it's like, oh yeah, that one has come up like 15 times. I should make a video about that and get that out there. But Ernie and Erika are going to be here. I'll go ahead and just say this. And so Josiah, I don't know where you'll be, but like most winters, Ernie and Erika come by like a few days after Christmas, and then they stay until like January 7th or something like that. So they're usually here for like 10 days or something.
Okay.
And it's a time when we're not teaching any workshops. We're not trying to like crank anything out or get anything done. And mostly the reason that they come is that Jocelyn has a powerful need to feed people around that time, and she didn't get to feed enough people for the holidays. Like this year should be especially bad because I'll be eating dominantly vegan for many months. And so we're already kind of figuring that Ernie and Erika are going to be here around that time. But I should record. There's one in particular that popped into my head. In fact, there's a couple where it's like Ernie's peeves. Ernie just gets so angry and about these topics. But so there's a few different things that keep coming up, and they're Ernie-isms. And I'm kind of thinking like, oh, we should do this with Ernie and Erika. But maybe you'd like to come out.
I would love to, but January is like, so this year, well, first of all, welcome everybody, Permaculture Smackdown. We're just kind of trailing in from the conversation we have earlier. And so before we go live, all the Patreon folks that support us, all the Permethos students, you guys get a chance to get in early before we go live. And so we were having a conversation about that, about these different topics, and it kind of trailed onto this. But welcome to the show, permethos.com and permies.com to check out more stuff we're doing or to join in on the Patreon and get in early. So we were talking about, Paul was talking about some videos that he's been releasing and how, and you caught the rest. So we're live in January. January, I am going to be not in the snow. So I will not be there. Yeah, this year we're skipping out on the snow. We've decided to go south. Currently, I am in Oregon, in the Portland area. I think Julia is in the Portland area, where we were talking about that last week. And last week's show got cut off early because, so I'm doing this from the cell phone, right? Using the cell phone data. And Josiah, you are living in your car now, question mark, wink, smiley face. Yes, I'm living in my camper. I got my truck camper, and we're just cruising around, going to all the cool spots and checking things out. Okay, so so last week I was picking up Tuesday. She was in Hawaii. I was picking her up from the airport in Oregon, and we're doing Permaculture Smackdown. I'm waiting for the plane to arrive. LAX and San Francisco flights land back to back at the airport while we're doing our show and killed the cell phone data. Like, because I guess all those people just have to get on their devices as soon as they land. And so I just lost cell phone. So
it's what I do whenever I fly. You can land, first thing you do is turn on your phone. And it's like, oh, here come all the emails,
Yeah.
And maybe while I'm waiting for all these people to get out of the aisle, I'll knock 7 or 8 out.
And shit's crazy now because if you so with cell phones, you're downloading stuff all the time. People have like podcasts that automatically download and YouTube videos that automatically download. So as soon as they land and turn on the data, they're downloading this stuff, and so it just sucks all the bandwidth. Well, I'm nowhere near an airport this week. So
well, we kept going. I don't know if you got a recording of any of that stuff, but we kept going. And
yeah. So what I miss?
I don't know. Do you guys from the chat, do you remember what we were talking about? It was really profound, I'm sure. It was like all the best golden stuff from the show forever.
Well, the conversation we left off on, I was so excited about, and so pissed off that it ended, was we were talking about the book. I just finished reading the
Stranger in a Strange Land.
The Stranger in a Strange Land, and so while I've been traveling, I have had not. This is the first time I've had internet since our talk. Like I went off grid for the whole week. I've been in these national parks and just totally off the internet, and so I listened to the book again.
I'm gonna give you a tip for the Portland area. And if it's a rainy day, then I suggest that you drive south, and it's not too far from Salem, and you're gonna want to go to I believe it's called Silver Creek Falls. It's been so long since I've been there.
We just went through Silver Creek Falls.
Did you go to the falls?
No, because it's pouring friggin' rain.
Go when it's raining. That's what I'm saying. Okay. Go when it's raining.
Okay.
And so then you walk behind the waterfalls. But I think it's even better when it's raining. And then, of course, when it's raining, hardly anybody's there. So,
well, luckily, it's been raining all week. I think there's been 0 days without rain. So, maybe I'll go check that out. That sounds cool.
So, we were talking about the community that they had. Oh, and I think that the biggest point that I made, I'm not sure if it made it into the show or not, that was so important to me is how they had a community that these human beings loved and enjoyed. They enjoyed each other's company. They loved their little nest. They loved their little place. And then other people witnessed them enjoying life, and so they had to destroy it.
Yes.
And so now you just read the book. Now my understanding is that other people destroyed it. Are you saying that the people like Michael and the group that they destroyed it themselves?
No. The other people destroyed it, but Mike knew it was happening. He knew it was going to happen. Yeah. So they all escaped, and they had prepared for this to happen. All the kids were gone. All of that. They knew it was happening.
Yeah, you're not allowed to enjoy life your way. You're only allowed to enjoy life in the way that I'm comfortable with. If you won't enjoy life the way I'm comfortable with, I have to kill you and your friends and burn your place to the ground and stuff like that. It's like this is not too far away from where our society currently is. And so, I built these berms next to the road here for base camp. And people are kind of like, why did you build those berms? Well, for one thing, it helps with our horticultural efforts. But more importantly, it's amazing how people will drive by and they'll see anything that they haven't seen before, and it's either going to trigger them to come out and convert it to meth, or else they're going to call the Department of Making You Sad to like say, somebody thought we had a militia here. Somebody thought we had nuclear, that we were building nuclear weapons. And when we were building one of the Berm sheds, somebody pulled their Hummer up onto onto my property and wanted to know if we were building a bomb shelter. I mean, it's just a fucking shed to park the tractor in. And it's like, really, so it's like, wow. And it's like, we were butchering a hog one day, and the Department of Fish and Game pulled up and wanted to know what kind of animal it is. And even after we told him it was just a hog that we raised ourselves, then he still sat there for 5 minutes, like glaring at us. And it's kind of like, shit, we were building a fence near the road, and then a car came and parked on the road like 100 feet away, staring at the guys building the fence. Then that car went away, and then a police car pulled up to the same spot and sat there for like 15 minutes watching these guys build a fence.
Yeah.
And like, so the thing is that I don't want crazy fuckers to burn down my nest. And then, that sounds, somebody's going to say, well, that's paranoid and shit. And it's kind of like, not really. Joel Salatin, some woman drove by one of his fields, and she called the Department of Making You Sad because she saw, like, the cow walked up to her, and she felt that this was cow abuse. So she called the Department of Making You Sad. Joel Salatin spent 3 days having to explain himself to regulators.
Yeah. Yeah, and especially when you get into the social stuff, because when you start building community, the first thing people want to know is, what's the social deal here? Is it a cult? Is it some kind of religious thing? Like, what is the big, why are you feeling like you need to be separate from the rest of society? And immediately anything that is not standard society is looked down upon. Or you're reading that comment from Julia?
I am.
What is the Hamilton of the King or whatever? King of the Hamilton.
I'm guessing it must be from that play that's so popular that's out right now. But so Julia wrote, sounds like the king from Hamilton. And she quotes.
Oh, Hamilton. Okay, yeah, the play Hamilton. Okay.
I will kill your friends and family to remind you of my love. Da 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 da.
Now, that makes a good point. So, yeah, while you have these things going on with you, and you're already scared of people like coming and turning things into meth or burning your place down. In the book, he killed the high bishop of their big main church. So,
well, as an act of self-defense.
Well, do we know that? Because he just went into a back room with him and was talking with him. Like, we don't know what happened in that room. He just made him disappear.
Which it was kind of his thing when he first arrived from Mars.
Yes, and this is his first big experience with religion. And all of a sudden, so he's with his friends, but the bishop takes him, sleight of hand, kind of moves him to this private room to talk with him. Next scene is he walks out, no bishop to be found, and they're all thinking, the church is thinking, oh, maybe the bishop used the other door and left.
Well, all right, so let's just go all in for spoilers. And then, of course, the guy's name is Michael. And on the last page of the whole book, who is he really?
Well, he ends up being the
Archangel Michael.
Archangel Michael. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's not just somebody, he's somebody. And so it's like, okay, therefore, anything that he does, according to the last page of the whole book, anything that he did throughout that whole thing is going to be, saint-worthy, right?
Right.
I mean, it's going to be pretty pure. So, and then at the same time, we got a pretty clear picture of what that bishopy guy was like. Fucking sleazebag. And he kind of sort of kidnapped Michael, in a way. A little bit. Not exactly, but there was. I mean, it was dirty, and
Yeah.
and you kind of got the feeling that he's like, you know what? I got to check out this Michael guy because I think I got to put him down. You know, I got to like, not put him down like call him names. I got to put him down like bullet to the brain pan.
Yeah.
And
like
so you kind of got the feeling like that's what's going to happen. And then Michael, at the time, totally innocent, totally new to Earth, and a very smiley, happy person, wanting to please all people at all times, and trying to learn about our ways. And that's the root of the whole story. So he arrives at this place, and he's extremely innocent. He is like the definition of innocence. He's probably the most innocent and sweet person in the whole building. And it's a huge building, thousands and thousands of people. What?
He was having fun too. Like he was listening. They were all singing and dancing, and he was like, "This is fun."
Yeah, woohoo! Yeah. So, and then the sleazy guy pulls him aside. But we've also learned from Michael that when there's a badness or a wrongness, and it's like, you know, you gotta the thing to do is you make badness and wrongness disappear. And so, but only in the most extreme cases.
And of course, the government's thinking like these Martians, because they're thinking about taking over Mars. And these Martians don't even do war. They're going to be easy pickings. They don't know what the heck's like. They don't have war. They don't even have weapons. They don't know what's going on.
In the meantime, the Martians are thinking about making our whole planet go. Just
they're
like a lot of wickedness over there. I think it should just be like not there. That's the right thing to do. So they're kind of debating about it, but they kind of look at it really long term. Like they're going to have a debate for like thousands of years until they decide whether or not to make our whole planet just go, you know,
out of artistic, like because it would be a beautiful thing.
Yeah. For the sake of goodness and beauty.
Yeah.
So all right. The big thing that's important to me, and the thing I was trying to convey in the podcast last time is you're reading this book, and I'm so excited you're reading this book, and it's the thing that our society has, where it's like, if you don't follow if you don't do what I say, then you have to die. It's do as I say or else, and then of course. A lot of people say, oh, "I'm not going to do what you say," and then they mysteriously disappear. And they, you know, and then it's like, but now that it's one of the glorious points of this book is that the people that are basically like saying it or else, and they're going to kill you. They're the ones that end up dying. That's kind of a bit of comedy in this book. So, all right.
Well, Michael also, when they were like towards the end, when right before he goes out and basically doesn't kill himself, but he lets them kill him, he's making people disappear, and he kills like 450 people in town just because he grokked that they were bad people.
And, you know, he's going to understand that kind of thing 100 times more than we are because of his Martian background.
Right.
And I don't think he's even aware of his archangel background. That's a whole different ball game. Yeah. And so, but he can grok on a level that the rest of us can't really grok. I mean, it'll take us 100 years to grok what he can grok in an hour. So, but yeah, and people had come by their own choice through their free will to his property to kill him. And then because they came of their own free will to kill him, then he just wished them out of existence, and then they didn't exist anymore.
No. This wasn't the people coming to him. They were just people in the city. So first he killed the people in the jail that he thought they should not be free when he escaped jail.
Yeah, I don't remember that part.
Okay, so when he gets arrested, he's in jail, and he's like, all right, enough of this. I'm going to leave now. Makes all the bars disappear and walks out. Well, before he does that, he makes the people disappear in jail that he thought were really bad. The rest of them, they got out when he did because he just made all the bars disappear. And so from then until he's about to go let them kill him, the mob that's outside, he started just making people disappear in the city all over the place.
True.
He was making guns of the soldiers disappear, like all their weapons, sometimes their clothing too, making ships disappear. And then he was making just random bad people disappear, which was interesting to me because he was choosing their fate, even though it's possible that they could maybe repent or whatever, or realize that they were bad and become good people. You don't know, but maybe he does. That gets into that whole part. But he's just killing people without letting the society try and reform these people back to good people or decent people. So he was making that decision for them, and then walks out and lets them kill him because it would show the world that, it's like Jesus, right? I love you, and yeah, you can just kill me if you want, but because they need to realize that he's a good and that they have good in them, that they are God. That was the whole point. Well, it never gives those people that he killed a chance to get that. That's why I thought it was interesting. But
so I'd have to say that back to permaculture and tying it into permaculture. I mean, I think that 90% of permaculture is solving the community issue. That's, granted, there's a lot of stuff we could talk about just, land designs and earthworks and seeds and rocket mass heaters and all this stuff. But I believe that 90% of the challenge is with community. Yeah. And so I believe that there were a lot of magnificent community lessons in that book. And granted, it's a work of fiction. So, we got to be careful about what we have there, and it seems like just in this last week since the last show, there's been a bunch of stuff in the world of community for me, and I know that I was recently talking about Don't Leave Christians books about how 90% of communities fail, and of the 10% that succeed, then the metric that they go by. When you go to the ones that have succeeded, it's because the community is still there like 10 years later or 20 years later or something like that. But when you visit with the people in the community, you'll find that that there's rarely anybody that's been there longer than 2 years. So this is a metric for measuring health of community. So I know right here we have, outside of Jocelyn and I, there are 2 people that have been here longer than 2 years, and a third person that's coming up on 2 years. So, we're in a lot of ways we're looking really good. But I still think that it's like, really, can you do 5, 10 years? That's going to be the most important metrics, really. Generations.
I think of like a really successful community will be generations through.
Yeah.
Have gone through generations. And I think you only find that, like, the only ones now that would be generations are religious.
And in the same conversation I was having with this person, they also said something like, it's really about people trying things. And it's like, there's a lot of people who have ideas, but there's very few people that actually try things. And I think that this person was suggesting, like, about the things that I have physically done on my own property, because there's so many people that have come here to do so many things. And my physical participation has been really light. I think of all the things that are done, I think less than 3% is done by my own hand. And
you're a facilitator.
Sure. Yeah.
Facilitating people's
and
ideas.
I said, you're right, sir. You are right. You're absolutely right. And it's like, because I think that there's very few people that have gone out to buy land and then invited a bunch of people onto it to, like, live. That's rare. That's really rare. But I'm trying. I am trying. And so I think and from that point, I kind of feel like there are a lot of people that are extremely critical of what I'm doing, as well as a lot of other people. And they're saying, like, that's just wrong. And it's kind of like, okay, well, let's see what your effort is. Fucking nothing. fucking zero. And or they're critical and they're hiding behind an anonymous pseudonym. You know, it's like, okay, well, what's your work? I don't see anything. You got the buttfucker 77. I don't remember buttfucker 77 like starting in a permaculture community. You know, so I'm not sure what to make of that. What's your contribution to permaculture, buttfucker 77? I'm not sure. Your name doesn't ring any bells in the permaculture community. So
I get quite a few people that approach me and say, we want to start a community. I have the property. So they're like, I have the property, let's start community. And what I find is that none of them are expecting, okay, you have the property. So what's the value of the property? First of all, let's evaluate, do you have water? Do you have electricity? Like what's on the property? What kind of buildings are there? All right, what's the value of the property? Now, if you could double the value of the property and have that much cash on hand ready to invest into the community, I would say you might be ready to start thinking about community. It's really expensive. Unless you got some other way of doing things or a big connection of people and you have other methods to get people to buy in or some way of funding this thing, there's a lot of expenses that are unforeseen or people don't think about. If you're going to be starting to move people in onto your property, even if they're going to be building their own stuff, there's still a lot of expenses involved, especially when you start looking at government. Like, if you want to involve the government, like, okay, we want to be to code. Okay, you want to be to code? All right, well, now you really got to have the bucks. What's about the roads? Like the roads you're going to have to build for this community. Code, okay, you got to have water and power for every dwelling, like all kinds of crazy code laws out there. And so there are ways around it, depending on where the properties are, if they're unincorporated, what states they're in, things like that. But it's interesting that of the, I don't know, maybe 100 people have come to me and said, I got a large piece of property, I want to start community, let's do it. And then one has been like, okay, I'm ready to do it. Like, I really am. You're right. Like, I've evaluated all these things you're telling me, and yeah, I can do it.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of people that are not even going to try. And yet they are very insistent that if you're going to try, you have to do it the way that I tell you or else. And it's like, the fuck, you don't even live here. Who the fuck do you think you are telling me what I have to do? And you're not going to live here. You're not going to be a part of this in any way, shape, or form, but you're telling me how I have to live my life. So that's one.
Yeah.
Next one up is that somebody's actually got land. They're going to they could try. And it's exactly like what you said. 99 out of 100 talk about it, but don't. And I think that there's good reasons to not try, because it's like, whoa. I mean, imagine that let's say number 17 out of your 99 that are going to not do it. Number 17 is thinking about doing it, and then visits with some people, and then runs into 7 or 8 people who all say, you have to do what I tell you or else. And then their first thought is like, fuck this shit. I'm out of here. I don't need this crap.
Yeah.
So I think you're going to find very few people that are in the boat that I'm in that are actually authentically trying.
The reasons I see...
I arrived here with some cash flow. I mean, I worked my ass off, working some old stuff, and I don't want to get into it really, but I got some money to buy land, and then I had some money come in so that way I could pay for shit. And when I go back and look over the books for all the money I parted with, it's like, holy shit. For that much money, I could have built a fucking log cabin mansion.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, so where did it go? Where did all that money go? And of course, what happened was, rather than having a mansion built or whatever, I put money into building community, and I thought these people were going to be here for decades. So I put knowledge into them and experience, and I was trying to grow a community. And instead, it's like I didn't have the recipe quite right, and so things went to shit. And
Well,
it's like I had to start over, and so I lost all that money that I poured into all of that, just gone. And then there's lots of little drama things, and there's all these different people that are like, okay, you gave me money, but you know what? I decided that that wasn't enough money, and so I'm going to short my hours. I'm going to. I told you that the deal is that I would work 40 hours and you give me this much, but I'm going to actually put in 15 hours and take.
Yeah, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do? You already gave it to me.
Lots of that kind of thing.
Well, all right. So if you're thinking about starting community, I think that the potential rewards are extremely high. And that's what people see that even think about community is they see the potential rewards in having a community. The risks are higher. Because, first of all, like you said, hardly any communities succeed. And the only way that we're going to find successful formulas that work for succeeding communities is if we get these risk takers that are willing to try it out and are reaching for those major benefits, those major goals, and understanding that they're going to fail, or a large portion, the percentage, the probability of you failing is extremely high. But if nobody does it, it'll never happen. So the rewards are there. And once we find the formula that works, that it's like, all right, we're up to an 80% chance of success in a community with these formulas. We have 3 formulas, 80% chance these will succeed. Awesome. And then it's going to explode. But getting there, the research and development getting there is tremendous. And the money that you could be sacrificing to do that is tremendous.
Yeah. But, now my cash flow is a speck of what it used to be. And I'm trying to pull up. So then, you were saying something like you need a bunch of money to get it started. And I kind of feel like I would like to explore paths and areas where we could get it to work, but without a lot of coin. And so, right now we've got programs like Ant Village, Deep Roots, and the Boot Camp program, which, by the way, we're not, just to be clear, we've had some people who wanted to join the Boot Camp program, and it's like right now we're not allowing anybody to come and join until February 1. And so there's a bunch of reasons for that, but on February, so for those people that are thinking about coming out here and being part of it, then it's like, on February 1.
Which is coming up real soon. So start preparing. Start saving your money for this adventure. I
you know what? That's been a thing too. Is I kind of feel like when you go out and if you buy raw land, or even if you don't, even if you go someplace like, let's say you've got $500,000, and so you go out and you buy yourself a bunch of acres, and it's already got a house on it, and you're like, I'm going to do permaculture and homesteading. Then to start your systems, you're working 100 hours a week for the first year. You are putting in some long hours, and so it's like I'm trying to facilitate people, because it's like I'm getting a pushback from Fred, and he's right. He's absolutely right. It's like if somebody wants to come out and be part of this program, you know they can't commit to more than 40 hours in a week, because that's what people are told is the norm. And it's like, okay. And so I've come around to that. Like, okay, no, I get it. You're right. 40 hours a week. So we've got 40 hours a week of what we call project labor. And then I'm pointing out 4 to 8 hours a week of nest labor. Because like, if you go work a 40-hour job and then you come home and your home is a mess, don't expect Paul Wheaton to show up and clean that for you, Yeah. And we've seen some of that, and so it's kind of like, all right. So we've got this concept of nest labor, and it's like, we do wood heat, so you need to chop some wood, bring the wood in, and build a fire, And then also you're going to need to sweep the floor once in a while, and you're going to need to. So during the 20-month party, it's like the gappers back then. It got to the end of the day, and they would just kick back, and it's like, no, I'm not going to do any work. If you want me to like wash something, it's got to be during project labor time. And it was turning out to be that it's like during project labor time, none of the projects were moving forward. We finally got to a point. Now, most of the time, it was working out. Allerton Abbey exists because of project labor time and gappers. But it got to a point in time where no projects were moving forward because everybody was like spending all their project labor time just cleaning up after themselves. And it's like, and maintaining things that they broke and stuff like that. All right, I'm sorry, I went off on 47 different tangents. I guess the important thing is that you're going to go and do this homesteading and permaculture thing. But a big part of permaculture is that you're going to give a gift to your future self. It's well known. The first year is a tough year, and then you harvest the rewards for many years later. But we want people that want instant gratification. This is where the Ant Village program is so great. It's you and an acre of raw land. And if you only want to work 2 hours a day, or if you only want to work 4 hours a week, that's fine. And then winter will come along, and then you'll have learned that it's like not your cup of tea, not a fit for you. Whereas there are some people that will come and they'll work 100 hours a week, and they'll have built a structure, and they'll have planted a garden, and they'll have built a fence to keep the deer out of their garden, and they will have gotten some shit done. In fact, you know what I'd love to do? In fact, I'd like to hear back from the people that are part of our chat thing right here. And that is that, okay, I have a question. And I kind of feel like, I mean, a lot of the people that are the big performers and the big doers and that get shit done, that they're not gonna come here, probably because they've already got their land. When they bought land, I hadn't bought this land yet, so I've been here 4 years now. I kind of feel like there's going to be some people where it's like, you know what? I'm going to phrase this differently. I'll bet I could hire a guy. I bet there's a guy out there, and I'll pay him. I'm going to make up a number. I'm going to say $10,000. I'll pay him $10,000, and he'll come out here, and he'll cut down some trees, blah blah blah. And at the end of 1 month, he'll have a humble structure. I mean, like 100 square feet or smaller. And he'll have put in hugelkultur beds and a fence around an acre, and he'll be well on his way. And so 10 grand. And he would come and do that, and boom, it's done. Because I believe that some people have gotten to the point that because we've had people come out that were ants, and they tried it, and then they quietly exited. And I think what happened is that they worked really hard and they accomplished very little.
Yep.
And I think that they learned they had a lot to learn still. And this is part of the reason why I created the boot camp program, because I kind of feel like when you get done with the boot camp program, you've got enough skills to be able to build something on your own. But I also kind of feel like that if you continue with the boot camp program beyond getting your acre, that you can build up fish that can be used to have boots and other people help you build whatever it is you might want to be building. But I think that if you've come here and you've done a year and a half in the boot camp program, you're going to be able to build a wafati. You're going to be able to go and harvest firewood, chop wood. You're going to be able to build a rocket mass heater. You're going to be able to build all the things that are part of our, the natural building and stuff that you're going to be doing, that you're going to need. Anyway.
Now you still, even after the boot camp program, still realize that if you're going to be taking this plot of land and turning it into a permaculture land, you're still going to have to put a lot of work into it.
Yeah. Yeah, and then I also kind of think that it's like maybe the thing to do is like, okay, an ant comes out and they've rented an acre of land, and then they've been up there for 2 months and they realize they don't have what it takes to get it all done. That the progress is far too slow. Then it's kind of like, okay, here's what you can do, buddy. Your work is not all for naught. You get to keep all that. Come be part of the boot camp program for the next several months, and then go and try again next spring on your plot. Maybe spend the winter in our boot camp program, and build some skills, and then we'll feed you, and you'll build up some fish and everything, and then which could pay your ant rent and stuff like that, and then go back to it, try again, and then you've got enough fish to be able to have like Fred and the Boots come and help you on your project for a while. So these things are all plausible and possible, but I don't. How about this? I want to ask the people that are watching here that are part of our chat thing. I'm a humble structure, a fence, a bunch of hugelkultur beds planted with seeds to be the beginnings of some food systems. I pay somebody 10 grand. You think they could do it in a month? In a month. Am I being crazy here? Am I going too far? And so then that's the thing that I want to push out to our chat people here.
Could they do it in a month? $10,000, empty plot of land. Could you be sustainable in a month? Is that the question?
Yeah, 100. I mean, a 10 by 10 structure or smaller. I mean, I'm looking for something that gets you by while you build something more magnificent later, and eventually this will become a bunkhouse or something like that. But
is this assuming that they have all the skills, or just what they're at?
I'm assuming that it's somebody with skills. That it's somebody who's got roundwood timber framing. Okay, so here we go. There are people in the world who could do that, but not the average laborer. I'd say that is correct. Now, and I think that the thing to do is part of what I want to do in the boot camp program is to build those skills, to teach people those skills, but of course, through the school of hard work. And so you're going to come to the boot camp program, and it's going to be half of it is going to be fascinating, interesting work, and the other half is going to be drudgery, just work that has to be done.
Yeah.
But when you're done after 21 months or however long, in fact, it's still viable. We made a thing. We said that the first person who's in the boot camp program for 1 year gets their deep roots in 1 year. And so that's still something somebody could shoot for. So we've got a couple of people that have racked up several months, but they're taking a hiatus. And so it's like, oh, well, man, So if somebody showed up February 1, they'd have a possibility. It's possible they could get that prize at 12 months.
So if I join the boot camp program, where am I sleeping?
Right now, in the middle of winter, you have your choice. You could here in the house where there's the bunk room. There's 4 bunks in there. Some people might choose to be like maybe in the red cabin or the love shack, which of course are heated. Somebody might choose to live with Fred up at Cooper Cabin or in Allerton Abbey. In fact, Allerton Abbey is getting finished up still, and hopefully it'll be winter tight here in another month or so, with a rocket mass heater in it. And but the big thing is the annualized thermal inertia test next winter, and so need somebody to stay up there. Probably going to be a couple of boots, maybe 3 boots.
And then during the summer, am I into camping at that point, or do I get to stay in those places?
Yes, and so it depends. I think that. Like if a person was like, man, I really, really want a bunk, I think we would work to make sure that they have a bunk. But I think once it gets warm, because the other thing is if you stay in Allerton Abbey, Cooper Cabin, or the the Red Cabin or Love Shack. These are part of our tour, and we do say that it's like, okay, you can stay in here, but it has to be kept tour ready. So at any moment, media could show up, and we're going to be given the tour, and so you won't be given any notice to clean. So that means and we say from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And so when 8 a.m., if you've left it ship shape. It's tidy, and if you can't do that, then you don't get to stay there. Now, the bunk room is not part of the tour, so people can kind of let that go. But we do ask for a certain level of cleanliness there. But the bottom line is for a lot of people, being tidy is not their thing, and it's like, and so then being tidy gets old for them. It gets painful for them. So once it warms up, they've got their tent set up, and they can trash their tent all they want.
So would you say being mentally prepared to go and do this boot camp program at Paul Wheaton's, should I be mentally prepared, like thinking, okay, it's going to be, like I got to be mentally prepared as if I were going into like boot camp in the military? Obviously, it's not going to be that, but that's the kind of mentality I got to have. Like, I'm going to be working my ass off. There's definite benefits coming my way if I succeed. If I fail, I'm out, just like boot camp. But that's like that kind of mentality. It's not like you're going in, you're getting like some job. No, you're going into a boot camp.
I would say that there's going to be it's a little bit of all columns. I mean, it's kind of like people can come and go if they want. If they want to leave the boot camp for a couple of weeks, that's fine. That's no problem. Not okay with people being like, oh, I'm going to leave the boot camp for 2 weeks, but I'm going to stay here and continue to eat your food and make a mess. And it's like, no, you're not. I kind of think about it like when I was growing up, and I lived with my granddad. And it's like we put in some long hours, and I had to go to school full time, and it's kind of like I don't. And then when I bought my property on Mount Spokane, it's like I put in 15 hours a day, and it's kind of like I don't understand this thing where people are kind of like I put in 40 hours and then I am done, and then I'm going to like live in a hovel and just live in my own filth. And
well, I think you don't understand that, and I don't understand that because we have the entrepreneur spirit, right? We started our own businesses. We understand, like, we're just used to working our asses off or for a long amount of hours. Whereas the average person who is not doing that is used to the 40-hour, like, that's a long time. 40 hours a week is a whole paycheck. That's, that's a full-time job. Where to us, that's not. That's like part-time job. It's half a job.
We've had people who've come here and they're like for the Gapper program. And then they explicitly expressed that this was not enough. They've left their old life behind and they've come here and they're not going to, you're basically awake for more than 100 hours a week.
Yeah.
And they're kind of like, no, I want to get as much experience as I can every day. I want 16-hour long days. And so, we line them up with more stuff to do. And granted, they needed more guidance than we offered at that time. And I've talked about this in some podcasts about what some of the people at Winton did and how it all worked out for them. But it did seem like the majority of people who came, they were kind of like, no, once it hits 40 hours or once it gets to the end of the week, then they are done, and they're going to trash the place with the idea that tomorrow they'll get paid to clean up after the messes that they just made. And so anyway, there's a mentality of people that are kind of like they go to work and the only work they do is the work that they're told to do. And if there's a mess somewhere, then you wait for the janitor to come. And if it turns out you're the janitor, you're fucking not going to touch it until somebody comes to you and say, go clean that up, and it's kind of like, so there's some of that. And I gotta balance this out by pointing out that there have been some magnificent superheroes who have come here, and this was not the case at all. And they came and they did awesome stuff all day long, every day, all over the place, and it was never a concern. And then at the same time, there's been the people where it's like, I don't know, I think what they need, what they expect, is they expect basically a drill sergeant to yell at them. Right. And it's like, if you're not going to provide a drill sergeant to yell at me, then I'm not going to do anything. And it's like, we're not going to provide that. I don't want to be yelling at people. Fred doesn't yell at anybody.
Yeah.
And so there's nobody to yell. And it's like, if you need somebody to yell, you need to go. That's weird.
Then you're not getting the immediate benefit. You're not seeing the immediate benefits, right? You're going to be putting in a lot of work before you start seeing the benefits, like in practice, the land. You're going to be getting those skills, and you're probably not going to be seeing that you're getting those skills. You might reflect on it a little bit, but once you empty the compost toilet a couple times, that's a skill that you're learning that you normally wouldn't have ever touched or even thought to do, that you're going to need to know how to do. But it's shitty work, literally. And you're not getting the land. Like, okay, I've done this for a month. I've emptied this compost toilet for a month, and I still got fucking months to go. So one thing that just came to my mind, what if, okay, you're in the boot camp program, welcome. Here's the plot of land you're going to be getting. In 1 month, we're going to section off 10% of it, and you get to start working on that 10%. But that wouldn't work. Maybe it would. I don't know. But it would, that's a way of giving them something automatic. Like, okay, I see that I'm getting somewhere. Like the immediate reward that people are looking for, maybe. So that was one idea.
That's not a bad idea. I like that. I like the idea that it's like, okay, you're going to be here for 21 months in the boot camp program, and at the end, you get your acre of land. And when you get to the 1 month mark, you get to go and pick out that acre. And as long as you're continuing the boot camp program, then on the weekends and in your spare time, you could go up there and build the fence or build a hugelkultur bed or whatever. So, I think that's not a bad idea, because it's like you can only do it outside of your project labor time, but then these people can work 80 hours a week, and then if they want, and if they want, then they can do 40 hours a week of project labor in the boot camp program and 0 time on their plot. It's like, I'm just appreciating nature, and so it's like that's great, that's fine. You don't have to do shit. I
think it might be a good incentive. And then the other, so that'd be a good incentive for them, and it would allow them to work as much as they wanted to work on the property. But do you limit that? Like, what limitation? Do you put any limitation on the amount they can build, or how much of the property they can work on, or anything like that? Or is it just like,
well,
there it is?
The deal that I've always had for Deep Roots and for the Ant Village program and stuff like that. First of all, for any of it, this agreement can be terminated by either party at any time.
Right.
And so that means that if I think that what you're doing is not within my comfort zone, I can kick you out.
So then there's really no limitation. Like, you don't have to set a limitation.
Well, wait. And then the next thing is that I tell people they can sell their improvements. Like, they get a certain amount of time to try to sell their improvements. Unless, of course, they're really awful. They're like they've decided to just be really horrible people. And then it's going to be like, okay, remember how I was going to give you a year to try and sell your improvements? I've changed that. You now have 2 months. And then it's like, okay, remember how you were going to like have all this time for all these things? You were so hostile and you actually hit somebody. It's been reduced down to like a week. You have a week to sell your improvements. And you know what? If you do anything else, it might be like you've got 10 minutes to get the fuck off my land. And then some people are going to be like, oh, hey, this is a violation of tenant law. No, it's not. You didn't rent a house. You rented raw land with the agreement that this agreement can be terminated by either party at any time. It's not the law. It's not tenant law. It's trespassing law.
Yeah. Wrong law you're looking into. Okay, so with that program, if you were going to do it that way, I think another great thing is that while people are doing the boot camp and they're working with these new systems that they've never experienced and starting to build these things, they're going to be getting ideas. And if they have that property that they know they can apply those ideas to, that's a great thing where it's keeping them excited and engaged rather than like, because, okay, so they work on something like, oh, that's a great idea. I wonder if I could fit that into my property somewhere. And then 20 months later, totally forgot that idea. Or like, it's not even on the radar anymore.
Well, I think another thing is like when you go and you work for somebody, you'll put in a certain kind of work. And then when you go and you work for yourself, I think you might be disappointed. Like for some people, you might be disappointed in that level of work.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, okay, I showed up, I kind of did it. They told me to move those logs, and so I think I did a good job.
Yeah.
And so, and then of course it's like, no, you did it all wrong, and now somebody else had to come in and fix it.
Imagine this is your property. Would you do that same thing to your property? No.
And then suddenly you do it yourself, and it's like, oh yeah, I don't want to do it that way because then the logs will all turn to compost. I don't want that. I mean, I spent all that time cutting them and peeling them. Okay, but then I think that there's a lot of powerful lessons learned. So no, so this is great. I think that this is a whole new angle that makes this even better. I think that so people in the boot camp program after their first month, say, can kind of pick out their plot, and then they can start doing improvements. And then when the time comes that it's all theirs, then it's all theirs in their respect of, you know, how our Deep Roots program is put together. And then whatever, or if they've decided, like I've decided to leave the boot camp program, and so all this time that they put in, that's an addition, then it's kind of like, okay, that can be part of, you know, I can sell these improvements. I've, you know, after being in the boot camp program for a year, in my off time, in my spare time, I built a tiny structure. You know, that's less than 100 square feet, maybe, and I built a fence around it, or most of a fence, you know, whatever. And then somebody might come along and say, yeah, I'll give you $400 for that or something. And that's another thing too, is that if you've got a year to sell it, then you could probably get more money for it,
right?
Than if you've got a week.
Yeah.
You know. And you know, I think that as long as I'm being a dick about the part that I get to be a dick about, I should point out why this is so good for people. And that is that some people are going to be saying, like, I can't possibly go there and live there because I don't want to go and build something just to get into a tussle with Paul Wheaton and get my ass kicked out. And it's kind of like, yeah, here's a tip. Why don't you research what it's going to be like, and then don't ever get into a tiff. I think that half the people that have come through here have the capacity to never in their entire lives get into that kind of tiff. The next thing is that it's kind of like, you know, when you come to a place and there's somebody horrible there, do you want, I mean, it's so bad that you're getting down to the point where you're thinking, like, either they go or I go. You know, don't you like the idea that Paul Wheaton, that would be me. Why do I talk about myself in the third person? Will kick their butts out. If they're a horrible person, then I'm going to come and say, all right, you know what? I've tried to work with you. And the only thing I've got to be able to fix things is to kick you out. And I've threatened it 7 times. And yet you insist that you're going to keep doing this horrible shit to this guy next door. And it's like, I've told you that's totally unacceptable, and you keep doing it. So it's time for you to be, figuring out what your exit's going to look like.
Michael Valentine time.
That whole thing. And it's like, so then I was talking to somebody who was talking about coming out here, and they were kind of like, yeah, but you're not going to kick me out unless, it's a good reason, right? And I said, well, I have to make it clear, I can kick you out for no reason whatsoever. And when you say a good reason, then you're kind of saying, like, I'm going to be held accountable to what you call good.
Right.
I think it'll be a good reason, So it's like, I think that the thing to do is have a really good understanding of what my mindset is like. That's why you listen to the podcasts before you decide to move here, is to really understand what you're getting into. Because I can kick you out for my reasons, and so you kind of want to get an idea what that is. So anyway, I said, if you're worried about that, that worries me. Because now I'm kind of thinking, like, I think most people who've listened to, like, all of my podcasts would never be worried about me kicking them out. Because they understand where I'm coming from really, really well. Right. And they would feel totally comfortable that I would never kick them out. So if you're being worried about it, that worries me. But even more importantly,
I would start making you think, like, all right, so you've been kicked out of other places.
And then there's that. Yeah. But I would think that anybody that's listened to all my podcasts would love this policy, because then if a shithead moves in and is awful, I'll kick him out. So it's kind of like, yeah, I would think that most people that people that are not a fit would see this as a terrible thing, and that people that are a fit will see it as a good thing. So, therefore, it's a good thing, right?
Well, cool. We got a new program in place, possibly. I'm sure you're going to ponder it a little bit, but for the boot camp program. Cool.
Yay!
Any closing? We got to close up, man. We're end of time. We're out of time. But we are going to stick around. If you are lucky enough to be a Patreon person or a student of Permaethos and you're on the chat, stick around. I want to talk a little bit about relationship stuff and sexual things in community, stuff like that. But we're not going to do it live, so you got to be a Patreon or customer support. Anyway.
On the point of relationship stuff, I have 3 podcasts out, which I charge $25 per podcast, and it's because people ask so many times for these, and I kind of feel like I can't make a podcast about that. That's just going to get everybody to hate me, and so I charge $25 for the politics podcast. So all of my political junk is there, and $25 for my religious podcast. And $25 for my relationship podcast. And so now we're going to go talk about relationship stuff. So we'll give the Patreons a bit of a taste. For all the people that are on part of our special inner circle chat group here, have any of you guys ever heard any of my super expensive podcasts?
I'll bet there's at least 2 people on here.
You think there's at least 2? Mark Harris says
there's one that I thought would. He said no, not yet. All right.
Julia says she's heard the relationship one, and so all right. So there you go. I said the thing, and the first thing I say about these $25 podcasts is don't buy them. Don't just stay away. Nothing to see here.
All right. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next week. Remember, stick around for the extra part of the show. Bye-bye.